Hello, and welcome to our third night, our marathon show, where we're keeping track of what happened with the city councilors who are now talking about the upcoming property tax levy. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, this is hour number 3, if I'm getting this, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's
Yes.
right. Well, the reason we're bringing back your ability to vote, is every topic that is confronting the city and the county is included in this one show. It's amazing what these guys did under pressure. Let me also tell you that they are under a lot of pressure. We've been getting a ton of responses from these, and when we pass them on to the city councilors, I don't know what someone else has been doing, but they don't like receiving these emails from you through us to them, and you're anonymous. They don't like it, do they, Mike?
I guess not.
Yeah, well, they're going to say so on the show that they're not happy. In addition to that, Darren Fowler, who wasn't on KJO for that show, was really the Marty Sether show, but because he works there and he's talking just about as much as the city councilors. It was Darren Fowler who said on the Daily Courier, talking about the commissioners, they've decided to leave it to someone else besides the 3 who were elected to lead our county. He's very frustrated with the county commissioners that they're not going to lead the charge for yet another failed attempt at passing a property tax levy. What's the matter with these commissioners? Don't they realize what's at stake, Mike?
Yeah. Yes. They
a
know
stake
exactly
is what's needed. A stake is what's needed. A stake through the heart.
Yes. Well, now, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I can just see him endorsing the property tax candidate, which would be Cheryl Walker. So far, she has been saying yes. It's odd though that apparently, even though she is so pro property tax, she is a little afraid to put one out front herself until after she's won re-election. Then she'll do it all day long.
We saw that the first time she was elected. She said, well, I really don't know. And as you know, because we told you about this is a place where you can find news. Sometimes the only place. That's kind of pathetic, Mike. And it turns out that she said the very first day she was in office, before she even went in for the first meeting, well, yes, we're going to need to do a property tax. It seems like that's the only way. Nobody's going to be deceived this time, Cheryl Walker. Nobody's going to be deceived. Anyway, so we're going to play clips from this KJO appearance by a couple of the city councilors. But first, look, I apologize for the quality of this video. The audio's not bad, but this is the best that we can do now that David Reeves of the city has said, I'm not going to allow you to have, you need to speak that way. I'm not going to allow you to have this good video anymore. He just won't. I mean, it was beautiful before. No longer. You can't have that, but we're doing the best that we can by capturing it from the screen. Not very good, but, and the audio's out of sync and all the rest of that, but you'll enjoy the content. Mike?
I want to comment on our Board of Commissioner joint meeting on Monday. I was disappointed to hear that we are not going to get any proposals from our county commissioners before the term ends in November. That they have decided to leave it to someone else besides the 3 that were elected to lead our county. I don't understand that. I don't know how to call them out on that, but I'm very frustrated by that because of how it affects us as a city. And you guys are as close to anyone to knowing the reality of that. That I'm starting to get a little shaky on that 18-month deadline out there, what my city's going to look like, how we're going to do the things that keep us in the business of keeping our citizens safe. I know there's a lot of hard prayers going on already, but there's also 2 council seats down there. We do have 3 applicants for the northeast section, but Southwest still only has 1. So if you know anyone in the Southwest, that would enjoy serving their community in this way, please encourage them to apply. Because this year is going to be a very interesting one for our city to try and parallel not only an election, but the physical cliff that is coming for us as a county. So I want to keep that in front of this council over the next year, and look forward to your input on that matter, because what I'm considering is asking for a menu of options from the Board of Commissioners. Hey, what can we buy from you as a government entity, the jail beds and whatever else is available? What's the price of this? What's the price of that? So that we can have a menu of options perhaps to look at. Anyway, we've got to help carry them along, because they're obviously not willing to put their neck out there that far. So we're going to have to help them along as best we can, and that means on the side personally, as well as what we can do as an entire council.
Well, good. You know, I'm. Why weren't they looking into this kind of stuff earlier? If you know, if that's what is ultimately going to be best, they were waiting for the county to pass a levy so that they could have relief from the responsibility of making sure that the jail has the beds that the city needs. This is an interesting thing. Of course, the real responsibility for this situation, the confrontation that needs to take place, is with the federal government. You know, you cannot have us in this position where you can yank the rug out from under us and we're falling off the fiscal cliff into, a bottomless pit. You know, if that's how you're going to do it, then you need to let us free us, allow us to do with the resources here what we can do to help ourselves, or start paying us what you said you were going to pay us in the O&C Act. One of the two of those things has to happen.
That kind of presupposes that this gang of people, including the commissioners, are going to spend that money any more wisely than they've been spending the money they've gotten.
Oh, well, we know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
It's
and listen,
happen that way.
What I said, the city council has already had a meeting with SOS to discuss the upcoming SOS, not cuffs. They said SOS, to discuss the upcoming levy. It's a year away, and they're already talking. They've moved straight into the next thing. They're shifting the responsibility. They're blaming the county commissioners and us, the voters. They're blaming you, and you're not even one of their voters. They're blaming everybody in this audience. They're blaming the county commissioners. They're blaming everybody but themselves, because they came up with this brilliant plan. And as Roy Lindsay pointed out, we're all nuts, and we're just not going to go along with. You need to follow your politicians. Why aren't you following your politicians?
This is a fantastic point. The point being that they are mad at the county commissioners, and they're, by extension, they're mad at you in that when they're saying that they're mad at the county commissioners, they're really mad at you, because why are the county commissioners not amenable to launching a property tax levy themselves?
Because we handed them their head at the last couple
exactly
of times.
Because we the people don't want it. This guy wants, yet again, the commissioners to foist a property tax levy upon us that we do not want. And
he doesn't understand why they're not willing to do so. And Keith Heck was quite clear with him. We've already gotten a very clear answer from the citizens. As a matter of fact, Keith is still keeping up this lie that they had nothing to do with the last couple of them. We've got him on tape. He's still saying it because he's trying to avoid the responsibility for what they were doing. He doesn't want to go out there. And Darren Fowler was like, well, you need to do this. You need to do this because I'm telling you need to do it. I'm telling you this time. Hey, buddy, go take a walk. I really encourage these guys to keep doing this, not to keep foisting these things on us, but to keep, it's like what I said to the SOS guys and the cuffs guys. I said, I'm hoping that you will spend every dime you have. This last time when they spent so much money, please spend everything. Mortgage your home. Take your children's college education fund. Sink all of it into putting ads in the Courier. Do full color glossies. Do things where you open them up and stuff pops out. Oh, it's a robber. And they spend every dime you have because it's not going to pass. Oh, it'll pass this time. That's what they said. I hope that they mortgage their homes. That would teach them a lesson.
Wow, Dale, you're cruel. You would have their children thrown out in the street.
What's the difference between that?
That's the kind of guy Dale Matthews is. Let me tell you.
What's the difference between that and what they're trying to do with us? They're trying to get us, force us to doing something that's anti-American. We've already answered them. Well, when are we going to get a clear answer? What? When are you going to get a clear answer? What, are you crazy? Yes. Yes. Yeah. These guys are patting each other on the back. You've seen it here. They're patting each other on the back. Look, here's your chance to vote. Boy, they hate this. They hate this. They hate this. Let's show how much they hate this, Mike. Go ahead. Joe.
I wish the negative aspect of a sales tax would be just kind of pushed aside and to see what we're doing with the money, what the intent of resolving with the funds
Marty
collected there, and that's
Marty,
to go away
and to spread the burden out.
Exactly.
Yeah, the main thing was to first off give some property tax relief to the people in Grants Pass and spread the burden out. But one of the things that's I guess it's bothersome is you talk about, gee, everybody's going to, and we were at a meeting one time, in fact, Roy was there, and one of the speakers at the meeting said, yeah, Medford is poised to buy huge billboards that say, avoid Grants Pass,
right.
Stop Medford, save the sales tax. I talked to a very influential businessman out of Medford one day, and then we were over there at another meeting, a transportation meeting.
A very influential, unnamed
I hear you're
businessman.
getting ready to put big billboards, and he just kind of looked up and he said, don't flatter yourselves thinking we even care about your sales tax in Grants Pass.
Yeah.
And he was being perfectly candid with me, because you know what? They have their own set of issues over there and they deal with them locally. And guess what? They don't care what Grants Pass does.
Okay. What a bunch of BS. I almost used another word. But first of all, there's nobody at these meetings. We were at the meetings and we videotaped them. And then if we weren't there, then we looked at the videotape. There was nobody that said that somebody's poised in Jackson County to do this. They did Medford. They didn't say that. One of the things I said and another person said is, really over in Cave Junction, or maybe even in Medford, I think I said Medford, they ought to have billboards that say last chance, like last chance for gas. Remember me saying this? Nobody said there was already somebody. So that's number one lie.
Yeah.
Number two is they're saying nobody in Jackson County is nervous. Do they ever listen to the Bill Meyer show? Nobody. Absolutely. People all over the state were nervous. If this passed, even if it just failed by a little bit, that would have been it for cities all over the state.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
Yeah. This whole thing is silly. And I
like this guy. Why is he lying?
Well, that statement really belongs in the same category as Roy Lindsay's story about the guy who he met in the parking lot, because, that didn't happen. Some influential businessman who, I can't name for you right now, but, he's telling us we don't care about yours.
And this influential businessman doesn't care. We don't even know what's happening. And just, really, come on. Dan DeYoung, this is the wrong path. I liked this guy, but now he's resorting, just lying and making up stories. Is he getting them from Roy Lindsay? I mean, this is...
Well, yes, but you know what? Listen, it's clear because of the way that they that they recall stories that they've heard or things that they have heard in the city council, that they're not remembering correctly. They're not paying very good attention. That's number one. The other thing is it's pretty clear that most of these people, and the mayor is the ringleader of this, are just angry. They're so angry. And I've been saying that over and over, but it really is true.
Well, they're angry for a couple of reasons. One of them is they were caught. They thought, well, we're going to weather this. This is much worse than they thought. Apparently, they weren't even paying attention to that. They've gotten a lot of negative feedback from you guys, from us, from the citizens, and they said, well, we're done with this. We'd like to go on to the next issue. Really? You're done with this, sorry. No, you're not done with this for a year until you're driven out of office for this stupid idea, and we tried to warn you. It's like the commissioner saying, well, why don't you just turn us into the ethics commission? Well, now we tried to tell these guys, but they really don't recall. It was Dan DeYoung that said, well, I guess they're just not interested in law enforcement. What? Nobody said that. They said
as a matter of fact, we have Dan DeYoung's statement right here. So let's play this. This is what he said right after. This was the day after they lost big time on the sales tax. Here it is.
We're proud of the fact that the city council brought an alternative to the community, put it on the ballot. We aren't trying to sneak it behind anybody's back. Brought it right out in the light of day and called it a sales tax, just like it is.
And so they're focusing on the most undesirable one.
Oh, and that was an insert from a previous program.
Well, we could have played it. But that was the guy proving that it was. They tried to sneak it behind our back because what was this guy, Mark Bartholomew, saying in court? Well, it's not really about a sales tax. It's not? No, it's about 5 other things. What? And they're just as important as the sales tax. No, they're not. What?
Well, here I'll just continue the clip from where it left off. As a matter of fact, I'll roll it back right to where the transition is.
Oh, cool. I love this tech stuff.
Okay, here we go.
Focusing on the most undesirable one, or the one that gets the headlines, and that's sales tax. Sales tax is no more important to this than the elimination of the levy and the utility fee.
If you'd called it anything else, they'd have said, see, you're trying to hide it. So my hat comes off once again to the city council. I know you've been, today was kind of a bad day myself. I reported to Stratton Creek and spent my day in the mountains, collecting my own thoughts, came back here with a big grin on my face, ready to attack it again. So
ready to attack the citizens.
I just wanted to express my thoughts on that.
Yeah, he came back.
We all have some thoughts on that.
I think we all have some thoughts on that, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
He came back with a big grin on his face, Mike. And I'm sure all of this, the property owners, yes, but the business owners, they got big grins on their face too. Why? Disaster averted, except why would anybody want to bring a business to Grants Pass now when we found out, we forced the guy to admit in court that they could do this anytime without a vote of the people? I didn't know that. Did you?
No, I did not know that. Well, hey, listen, here's your chance, Mayor. You know what? The commissioners are not gonna put forth a levy, and the sales tax failed there locally. So, you really got to do something, Mayor. Why don't you just go ahead and institute the sales tax?
Well, we're all idiots anyway. Maybe we won't even notice.
Yes, that's right. We won't notice. It's funny.
All right. What else did they have to say on KJO, Mike? We're having fun with this. It's their words.
The problem still exists, and it's getting worse, and the timeline, as Dan has said, is getting shorter.
Well, what are we doing right now? What are we doing about the issue? What do we have a task force? Are we just waiting for suggestions?
Well, SOS is still up and running. Archie Leidy, that guy has got the patience of Job. I have all the respect in the world for him and his organization over there. And they do have a lot of little things in it, but all of them are out. If you figure the $2 bill, it's got to go back out of committee. It's not even out of committee yet. No, so that takes time to implement, and then it has to go to the voter. The same thing with the lottery. The lottery doesn't have enough signatures now. They got collected 20-something thousand and found out, oh no, it's 115,000 signatures. That's a lot of sitting in front of the post office in many towns.
You want to remember another thing too, that once it is go to the voters and it is passed, it's a year beyond then before we collect the money.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So no matter how you look at it, a solution that is implemented within the next 9 months is going to be a year or 2 years before it's implemented.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they say this every year, Mike. These guys are clanging the bell again. There's a wolf. There's a wolf. There's a wolf. You know, after 10 years of that, I go, well, no, wait a minute. Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. And the we know from the experience that we had right here in May that that the funding from the federal government came in a 2-year lump sum. It says here's not in a lump sum, but 2 years. The legislation was for 2 years, and so boom, and now next year's covered too, and or they say retroactively 1 year, and then 2015, and then next year something else will happen. And listen, I don't think that we should panic, hit the panic button over.
Well, I don't think that we should relax either.
Right.
But I don't trust these guys. Now, okay, here's one example of why I have some trouble trusting these guys. They're saying, well, look, there's no conversation in Washington, D.C. right now about funding for next year. Why is there no conversation in Washington, D.C. right now about funding for next year, Mike? You just said,
why would there be?
Because they've given us 2 years of funding. No wonder there's no discussion about it right now. They gave us 2 years of funding. Oh, there's no discussion. Yes, there's no discussion. You're lying to us. You keep lying to us. You think that we're idiots. Well, they do think that we're idiots. They've said so.
Yes. But also, listen, we are a podunk backwater. Okay. They don't care. They're going to talk about this that affects us, a week or so before they're working on it. They're not going to.
That's how they always do business.
Yes.
Just don't forget, we brought this up a couple of times. This was Don Reedy. Don Reedy, the guy that was tossed out with the lowest, results for an incumbent in the history of Josephine County, as far as we know. And it was a meeting in Cave Junction. And I think it was Senator Wyden who came by to give them the good news, the two commissioners, the good news about there was funding coming through. I went down there because it was advertised as a meeting of a quorum of county commissioners. Okay, you're allowed. I got there and they were like, well, what are you doing here? I said, well, there's going to be a quorum. Well, you're not allowed here. I said, you're going to have some trouble with the state law if you insist on that. Simon here comes up to the door and he sees me there. He turns around and walks away. And they say, see, there's no quorum. So I went out and I sat in my car. He sat in his car. He was going to go back in, I think. Anyway, so Don Reedy talks with Senator Wyden. What he didn't know is I had two people that were in the meeting who don't like the county commissioners, don't like what they're doing, and talked to me about it afterwards. And here's what, I don't have it on tape. I'm sorry, because they were cheaters. Liars and cheaters. They've been proven to be so by the state now. They are lawbreakers, officially recognized. And so Don Reedy says to the senator, don't give us any good news. Why are you telling us good news about this? Don't tell this to people because we're trying to pass a levy. They're liars and cheaters.
Yeah.
I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. It's that last part that's tough.
So what if at some point some courageous politician here confronts the federal government and says, hey, listen, you guys, and puts this discussion of their, not meeting their obligations up front.
Yes.
And he says, hey, no, you can't dodge this. We need to talk about this now. Right. If that actually happens and some positive result comes forth from it, are they still going to be, using this type of tactic? Are they still going to be trying to pass a levy or some sort of extra funding here? What's going to be the deal with that? Listen, not enough energy.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, of course, the answer is yes. Not enough energy is put towards the federal government angle and dealing with the fact that these guys have made us a promise and they have reneged on the promise. And so either make good on your promise or let us out of the contract here. because we're stuck. The only reason why we're not in there chopping logs is because we're held to a contract that you apparently aren't held to.
No, they're in a city council meeting sawing logs like you saw with Keith Eck.
Yeah.
The guy was like,
right. Yeah. So,
Mike, what was it that Cheryl Walker said about the prospects of taking the federal government to court? You remember what her response was to that, about what our chances would be if we ever really did try to go up against the federal government?
I believe that she thought that the cost would just be prohibitive,
and we're not going to win. We're not going to win. Yeah. So why bother? Why try? Yeah. We're not going to win.
Right. Yes. And that, listen, that's the mantra of government. Oh, never, ever, ever confront the federal government. You'll get squashed like a bug. Now, listen.
Well, that's what they say about government here. And what are we doing on a daily basis, Mike Jones? You and me. We're confronting these liars and cheaters, and we're voting.
The thing about this is that none of these people have actually tried confronting. Listen, you have a tremendous resource available to you. Anybody can put out a video on YouTube and put out the video, announce it to everybody, and send the same video to each of the senators and Congress people concerned here, and so that it's a public thing. So I'm not just talking to you, but I'm talking to you, and I'm telling these other people that I'm talking to you, and all these people are looking at you going, hey, what's the deal here?
You could send our video to them if you don't want to make your own. Send one of our videos. Send all of our dang videos. Send them. How do you think that the commissioners got so much trouble? We sent videos to the...
Yeah, but the problem is they're not going to take us seriously. We're just a couple of guys here. We don't have any local
I have a solution for that.
Yes, I understand. But they don't have the local... There's nobody in local politics that has the huevos to stand up and say what needs to be said here, and that really is a huge issue. Because listen,
imagine if you had somebody that was willing to do that. Somebody willing to do that. Gee, who would that be, Mike?
Are we going to sit here and ride this train, or for forever? I mean, they're telling us that this is the new normal here. Are we going to ride this train? Listen, the only possible outcome that is acceptable to the mayor and these councilmen, and for that matter to our county government too, is a levy. That's the only thing that's acceptable to them in any way.
And it's not going to end there. It would never end there. Why? There's no guarantee it would go up. Yes, there is. They said in this meeting. They said in the meeting of the city council, we can't play everything all the time. We are trying, as you can see, the most trying people you know. One of the things that they said is, well, there were people that said that if we passed this sales tax, why, it would just go up at a later date. Why? There's no proof of that. What planet were you born on? Oh, please. Yeah. Many of us are from California, or they know of people, or they've heard rumors of people from California. They know what happens. Liars and
we've
cheaters.
Seen this movie before. As
yes.
There's
and it always has the same outcome.
Favorite line. It's always the same. Yes.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. A little bit more from Kjo. I want to hear more from Marty.
Yes.
I had a lady email me, and she was just adamant that Aaron Kubik, city manager, was the highest paid city manager in all of state Oregon. So I called for the question, and I've got a whole list of cities and where Aaron falls. He's second from the bottom in I got out of 15 cities, and I mean we talked Medford, Central Point, Roseburg, locals also, and he's like second or third from the bottom. So, and as Bill says, and I know that there is a letter to the editor that said that the average salary for the including benefits for an employee in the city of Grass Pass is $107,000 or $105,000.
What?
The benefit package is pretty steep for those people. Most of them are union. So that's something that just has to be paid. I don't like it, but I guess you could go to the United Auto Workers and take care of those guys making $112 an hour for hanging a door on a Ford Taurus. seems ridiculous. Well, there's an awful lot of ridiculous things going on. But one of the things is that and I think salaries are all public record.
Yeah, they are.
So, Bill can get online there and find out.
Not necessarily by name, but by
position.
By position.
So in other words, that letter was implying that the guy out here that cleans the drains, that works for streets, that cleans the drains and rakes the leaves in Riverside Park's making $107,000 a year, and that's not anything big further from the truth. So, but that's all public record, Bill, and I think you can look that up.
Yeah, that was in response to a guy who called in asking about that.
Who the heck is Bill? Okay.
Yeah, and the 107,000. I don't know exactly who they're talking about, but it seems to me that that's about what the commissioners are making after you add benefits to their $80,000 salary.
Yeah. Well, see, because the people who are really calling the shots around here, as Keith Eck said, we have him on tape saying this. We have everything on tape. As Keith Eck said, why would I do something other than what the staff suggests?
Right. Yes. Because you can think for yourself.
Keith Eck?
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because this thing, it dovetails with the next clip, because the next clip, he talks about union salaries and how that negotiation for that takes place in private, and you need to hear what he says about that.
Negotiations are private matters. They're not for public record because we do it at an executive session. And so, salaries and things of that sort. In my mind, I got slapped away from the dinner table one time because I asked my dad when I was a little boy how much money he made. I learned you don't ever ask anybody what their income is because it's none of your darn business.
It's always a good to avoid that conversation in the workplace.
Well, sure was at my table.
Well,
So
let's avoid that conversation, Mike. Let's not. You and I shouldn't even talk about it, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. It's none of our business what the public is paying an employee.
None of our business.
I think it is our business.
Well, when he started down this path of discussing this, I thought, well, okay, that's making some sense until the end. See, that's the problem. You get to the end and you're going, what did he just say? That's what we hear all the time and see all the time at these meetings. It seems like it's a good idea, and then suddenly it goes south. What?
Yep.
Keep going, Mike. Keep going, bud.
I want to just kind of illuminate for a moment the importance of citizen involvement in everything that we do here. All the problems that we talk about, from homeless to lack of funding to whatever the situation is, it can all be solved with the citizenry of Josephine County. What we need to do is come together and have a common, agree on a solution and work together and get it done.
Yeah, and all of this is
we have agreed on a solution. Matter with you, Marty. We do agree on a solution. We've agreed on this same solution for a decade. We are cooperating. We are agreeing. We are doing the cost-benefit analysis. You're the only people who are not agreeing.
Yeah, it's amazing. They just, with each successive failure, they just become more and more adamant that this is the solution, and why are you so stupid?
I know this is repetitive. I know that it is. Okay, we're not the ones that aren't cooperating. We're not the ones that aren't pulling together. We're not the ones that are not coming up with positive, joint efforts. We're doing it as a grassroots thing. We know what we want. We're telling them clearly. We come in. We're very patient with them. We're, as Roy Lindsay says, we're patiently explaining it to them what it is that we want. They're the ones on the out, and that's the case because even with the Grants Pass City voters, they lost 80 to 20. 20 is not a good grade in school. That's an F. 22 is an F. 25 is an F. 30 is an F. They're getting an F all the time, and they're saying we're the ones that are failing? No, they're failing to understand what we're trying to tell them. Well, you're idiots. Right. No, we're not. We're telling you clearly you're not hearing us.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is frustrating. And and listen, it's clear to most people. You take a private sector manager and you put him in that environment and you allow him to control the costs and control the quality and hire and fire who he wants to get the right people involved and have the machine running at its highest efficiency. You would probably dispatch 40-50% of the staff, and they would be getting everything done that they need to get done, and for half the cost. And then you can take.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And then you could take the rest of that money and put it toward public safety if that's what you cared to do.
Let's suppose that you just can't do that in the public sector and where they work with the government workers, that you just can't, that there's all kinds of reasons why the wrath of everybody will come down on you. Wrath of the government.
There's all kinds of reasons.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. So can you avoid belittling the citizens after they have voted? Can you avoid insisting that the commissioners make the same mistake over and over and over again, just like you're doing? Do you think that maybe you could avoid insisting that we're not cooperating when we are cooperating? You're the ones that aren't cooperating. Can you get any education? What they need, says Roy Lindsay, is education. No. We're not the ones that are failing to understand this. What we have here is a failure to communicate, says Strother Martin.
Yes.
And they're not getting it.
Yeah.
So I know what to do with them. Do you? The mayor and 3 city councilors are up for re-election. Don't keep electing the same people. Then you are part of the problem. Sorry, not you, not our audience, but your neighbors. Why do they keep voting these same kind of people in? Go ahead, Mike. Play a little bit more.
I think the important thing is to have a civil discussion. Mm-hmm. Really meaningful, meaty, productive, looking for positive solutions. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, sometimes there's bomb throwing, and it goes nowhere and does no good.
Yeah, so let's have some meaningful discussions, and as long as you come up with the solution that I like at the end of it, everything will be cool.
You heard his meaningful discussion. You want to play that now? We heard that meaningful discussion that he had with this anonymous citizen who kept saying, "No, I don't care. No new taxes. I don't care. No new taxes." That's not what. I don't believe him when he says that. Why don't we have a meaningful, productive discussion? It's like Simon Hare when I came in to play that video, to play the audio of when he said this, the sheriff was padding his budget. He cut the microphone and said, "Well, that's not. He didn't say it wasn't polite. He said that's not constructive. That's not productive. That's not." Well, it's not going along with the program. Sure, it's productive. It's showing people that you lied. Don't lie to us, Mike.
Yeah, I believe we do have a Roy Lindsay clip here if you want to play it.
Nice. Let's do that. Let's see how productive he is.
I met an individual at outside of a meeting hall in the parking lot, and we got to talking, and the subject of the levy came up. It was on the ballot in November. And he said, "I'm against it, no new taxes." And I said, "Well, what about seniors? They need some help and support and protection." He says, "I don't care, it's their responsibility, no new taxes." I said, "What about children? They need some support now and then to keep them safe." He says, "I don't care. It's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes." I said, "What about kids that are abused?" And we've had more than one presentation that I know of about child abuse and sex trafficking of youth. And he said, "I don't care, it's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes." And I said, "What about kids that are abused by their parents?" And he says, "I don't care, it's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes." And I just walked away and I said, "We'll never agree on anything."
Yeah.
That is the most powerful video that we've done in a long time, and that's just him speaking. That's how he views you. You have no intelligence. You have no reasons. You're not listening to his superior logic. You just say no new taxes, even when children are in danger.
Yes. And listen, even if he did have a conversation with some guy who had a no new taxes bumper sticker on his car out in the parking lot, he probably didn't hear half of the stuff that the guy said to him. All he heard was, it's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes. I doubt very seriously that that's what happened. But we know that this is the way these guys hear stuff, because we've been playing video of their city council meetings, and people have come in there and go on for their 3 minutes and tell why you shouldn't have a sales, you shouldn't put the sales tax on us and what it's going to do to our business. And then you hear what the city council, what they received on it, what they interpreted from that, and these things are not the same at all. So
I've never heard Dale Matthews speak about the budget, and the mayor says nobody came up with any ideas, and Dan DeYoung says they're obviously not interested in any kind of law enforcement. And then this guy's making up stories and dialogue to show that he is, some kind of intellectual hero. It's amazing. And then they'll go on KJO and talk about how stupid everybody is and bomb throwers. Bomb throwers? This does remind me of before when they were talking about the noise that destroys. It wasn't dialogue. There were no reasons. It was just noise. And it just destroys. Bomb throwers. Remember when the Cuffs people said that it was, and Marty Sether was agreeing with them, it's just like ISIS coming over the border. They're here to sow seeds of hate and discontent. That's why they're here. They're not here to rob you. They're here to cause discontent. This is why they came across the border, to cause discontent, to make you not want to vote for a levy. They were serious. These weren't just people in off the street. These were the leaders of this is why you can't trust these guys. Look at what they're doing with your words and with your motives. You have no reasons. Bomb throwers. Bomb throwers? Listen, who's throwing a bomb into the local businesses? Us? They're trying to protect their businesses, or you that could possibly end up demolishing those businesses. We're not the bomb throwers, Mike.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't know what to say to that besides yes. And I'll tell you, I think what illustrates that really well is what the mayor had to say about all this. And his attitude toward the citizens and their arguments against the sales tax. And here's the mayor talking about that.
Certainly agree that it took a very brave council to try and tackle a countywide problem. And the only thing that could generate that kind of revenue, as we found out, was some sort of sales tax. And so we knew that the city of Grants Pass voters were already paying $5.50 on top of the 58 cents that the county people pay. We pay that same 58 cents and then pay $5.50 more to try and pay for our city services, which I think we do a very good job of managing as far as the council and as far as staff. And so I think we asked a really tough question. We got a clear answer, and that really helps us go forward. Because we don't have to talk.
Okay, you know what? Now, if you heard it this far, you'd think, oh, okay, that sounds totally rational. Now comes the irrational part.
About that in the near future. But I do expect that it would be a chance for the voter to be more engaged this year in the campaigns of our county commissioners and of our 4 city council seats. Because it's important who sits up here, and it's important who sits over there at the county. And we know that our county-wide system has suffered through a lack of trust. Whether it's warranted or not can be argued all day long. But that trust level just keeps people from even thinking the issues all the way through.
Yeah. See, you
All right,
don't think the issue all the way through.
Now, clip number 2 that I sent you. Can you get that ready to play? And I'll set this up. So the mayor just said, we need to pay a lot of attention who's running for county commissioner. We need to pay a lot of attention because we've got an election coming up in a year. They're worried about their jobs. They should be worried about their jobs. The mayor especially should. Oh, well, if this doesn't work, why, we just keep it going for another couple of years. So now that the mayor wants everybody to get involved and to pay attention, and the election's coming up, let's just look, just so that you know, David Reeves is the enforcer. If anybody has any troubles with citizens, they call on David Reeves, okay? Because let's listen to David Reeves and listen to the mayor and how he got David Reeves involved in this. Remember, he wants your involvement. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I wanted to let you know that I'm working on with Dave Reeves something to say during public comment. I'd like to have something that I read that was shorter than what's on here that says kind of what I've been saying, but kind of that it is a courtesy that we have public comment, and I may also include that I may not open it up for public comment at any meeting. I may choose to, depending upon time constraints or subject matter.
Really?
So I'm working on that. I'd like to try and curb this before our election year.
Yeah. Oh, really? They would like to curb this before election, and not because people are necessarily going to get what they might do, as they do every couple of years, get up and say something about themselves running. I can imagine we both know at least one person is going to do that ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. But they're also running. Oh, well, we really don't want people getting up here and criticizing us because the mayor is running.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, you know what? It's funny because the mayor seems like I'm such a mild-mannered man. And, but underneath that mild-mannered exterior is,
very angry guy.
Yeah, there is some boiling conflict going on in there.
So what's going to happen now is they're a year away. They're worried for their jobs. Yeah. And so what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you can only talk about city issues, but you just heard the mayor in a couple clips talking about county issues, but you're not going to be allowed to. You're not going to be allowed to do that. Also, we don't want you mentioning people by name. Well, what are we supposed to do? Okay. They hate being mentioned by name, okay? And then the others, although they do it, they did on this radio show last night. Well, at Sandy Casanelli, they're mentioning people by name. It's okay for them to do it. The mayor says we can't engage in dialogue, but every time I get up, he engages in dialogue. Oh, we're not going to take snide comments. He always says something snide when I'm done. Well, I don't know if that's believable. Hey, what happened to your no snide comments? Hey, it's not your turn. It's my turn to break the law, break the rules. Okay, they have their own rules. Now what they're going to do is listen to what he said. According to the amount of time that we have, their meetings go on for 2-3 hours. What time they have. And content.
Yes.
Content.
Yes, that was the key word. I heard that it was going ding ding ding. Keyword. Yep. When he said
it. So
yes.
Here's what I did. Here's what we do, because we're here for you. Okay. So what I did is I called Jules Rogers over at the Courier. The Courier now has, instead of one lazy guy that covers up the news, they now have 2 pretty good reporters that go out and find the news. Okay. They also tried to assign her to cover ribbon cutting and flower arranging or whatever. They're very important items, but she covers the city council, and Eder, not Edgar, Eder, whatever. Campuzano, he covers the county commissioners. So I called her and I said, just before the mayor talked about how the county commissioners don't want to do anything, and that was her article I put up behind me here with the picture of him saying they're not doing what our bidding. No, they're just following our advice. Why would they do that? I said, just before he said that, he went into this thing about how they're going to restrict or looking into restricting the meetings. I said the key to that is the involvement of David Reeves. I said he's the enforcer. He's the only guy left of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. that would always come down hard on every citizen that had anything to say that was crosswise with what the city council would say. You can't fight City Hall, right? And I said, you may want to go. She said, I better check my notes. And I said, because of what he said, because of time, and because of content, and they're running for office, these guys are, and they want to put this in place before the elections. What does that tell you? That tells you that they're responding to your emails. You're going to hear more about that on KJO in just a moment. They hate getting feedback, especially since it's anonymous. They hate getting feedback, and they're getting their heads handed to them, and they really would like to move along. Dan DeYoung said that at a previous meeting. Well, okay, I came back with a big grin on my face. I'm ready to go on. We don't need to worry about this. Well, we've learned our lessons, so now we know what we don't want to do. Now we'd like to do more of the same. Don't criticize them.
Yes.
Don't you criticize them. Go ahead, Mike. More from KJO.
I've got something on a personal note I'd like to bring up since we're just about done here. Is that having to do with the sales tax. It's over with. It was voted on. It was turned down. Let's go on to something new.
Yeah.
I know just in the misinformation that was running around the town with everybody asking questions and all that. And
not that.
Just here last couple of days, the sneak preview came out. I was ridiculed for a statement I made by name. And
by name?
I think it needs to be addressed that the person that wrote the article had his facts totally wrong. The statement I made about following the will of the people was not about the sales tax. It was about the marijuana issue. And it got turned into, I said we were following the will of the people when we put the sales tax in. And it was a long list of things that I did, and then going on, and then now I've been attacked on the email from a different person here, a county resident, number one, not even a city resident, and also Dan was ridiculed. Yeah. Roy was. This was just day before yesterday or 2 days ago. The mayor was brought into play. The email was sent to me. I passed it on to both my colleagues here, and it's got to stop. We can't come together like Roy said. We've got to get rid of the bombs and the backstabbing. If we need to pull together, because we have a problem coming.
So who do you think he's talking about? Now, there's so many errors.
Well, hey, wait a minute. And before you jump into so many things, let's just do a little fact check on Mr. Hannum there, because we happen to have Mr. Hannum's video here, and this is on the November 4th meeting, directly the day after the sales tax failed. And this is what Ken Hannum said, and this is what he was criticized for. So see if you think he's talking about the marijuana or the sales tax.
We've had comments made about the council numerous times that we're not following the will of the people. And the things that we've done, that's exactly what we have been doing for the city, for the people of the city of Grants Pass. Not the county, not the state. Our marijuana, our cannabis problems and things like that. We were following what the people told us when it was in the vote. And I want that put on the record that we're not derelict in our job up here, sitting up here. We're following the will of the people of the city of Grants Pass.
Well, let's give him half a point on that. He did say marijuana and things like that.
Yes.
Well, but he's totally off the hook now.
But the topic of the meeting was the sales tax. The thing that they were all discussing and taking turns commiserating about was the sales tax and how people are criticizing us. Oh my goodness!
This is a little pedantic, but play back the very first part of what he said so we can see the context again before he says marijuana.
Oh, okay. Yes, let's do that, shall we?
We've had comments made about the council numerous times that we're not following the will of the people. And the things that we've done, that's exactly what we have been doing for the city, for the people of the city of Grants Pass.
Okay. Now, hello. is he making a distinction? But we weren't doing the
will of the people.
Will of the people on the sales tax. You know that there. We weren't doing the will of the people, but this marijuana thing, yes, we were doing the will of the people.
Yeah, this guy doesn't get off by saying that. No. This is just subterfuge again. They're trying to escape any responsibility. Well, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. Look. We're not fools. They think that we are, but we're not. Well, there's no relationship. But yes, there is. Simon here. Well, I can't connect the dots. We're going to help you connect the dots, Simon. He's saying that they're trying to do the will of the people. They were all saying essentially the same thing, that they were brave, that they went out there and they tried to present an alternative, and people just wouldn't listen to their alternative, and we tried to lecture them, but they weren't hearing us. No, it's the other way around, fellas. Even Lily Morgan tried to prevent you from making this mistake. You would not listen, and now you're blaming us. The bomb throwers. Now, did I tell you? They've been receiving emails. Yes. And one of them, Mike, and one of them came and said, I got this email, and it was it wasn't even from someone in the city, Mike. It was from someone in the county. When we send the emails on your behalf, we keep your identity a secret. We have to, okay, because we don't know your identity, and so. There's no indication on there of whether someone's from the city or the county. Where is Dandy Young getting his information that this person's from the county and wasn't even from the city? It sounds good.
I don't have any idea at all.
That's a lot of BS again. Look, stop lying to us, okay? And the one that he read, he held it up when I was at that meeting. He says, "I'm reading the email." And it was the one that was sent to him, the bunch of emails that came from you guys. This is what he's talking about. So you're having an effect. You're exerting influence all out of proportion to your size. So are we. Look, I need to be okay like that. Now I'm exerting more. No, now I'm more. Anyway, the thing is that you're having an effect. When you click on these, it seems like a fairly benign thing, especially if you click down here. But it is having it. These guys, they're not ready for that kind of. Stop criticizing us. Why? I'd rather go on. Of course, you'd rather go on.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you go on. Not doing this. Go ahead, Mike. Be a bomb thrower, Mike. Bomb throwing. They do look sort of like bombs.
I made a statement yesterday that, and Jim Goodwin brought it up, in 2013, the business people downtown were pleading for help because of the problem. Mm-hmm. And we did something. This council did something. And now we tried to come up with a way to fix it. And now it's all blamed on us for what we did for the last 3 years and the money that was spent. And we didn't get any backing. That's my own personal feeling.
Yeah, we got zero backing. But, this is, what's coming up is going to affect everyone. It's going to affect the bomb throwers. It's going to affect the victim to the bomb thrower. I get it. I think it was on another, there's a blog, or I don't understand the term. I think it's a blog that I laughed at the people, that I laughed at the voters. I'm a happy guy. Mm-hmm. I laugh at everything. He just picked one little snippet out of it. I was laughing when I made a comment at one of the council workshops, and it was a very positive comment. And I said, I knew I thought it was going to fail, but I didn't think it was going to fail that bad. And I snickered about it. You know what? I'm willing to move on. And I think, I'm going to vow from here on out, I don't even think I'm going to field any more questions about the sales tax. It's that far in my rearview mirror.
Good idea, Marty, the news guy.
Let me hear your idea.
Please.
I'm done talking. Let me hear your idea.
Absolutely. But what is your idea?
Right.
What can you come up with to provide $8.2 million a year to fix this problem?
And that is the finish of the KJO stuff. That only took 3 shows. That's amazing.
Marty, the news guy, says, good idea. Don't take any more input about this. Let's move along. I'm ready to move along.
I didn't realize that they were fielding questions about the sales tax. Is that something they were doing at the city council there that I missed? I must have not seen that part where they said, and now we're going to take about 20 minutes and we're going to field questions about the sales tax. Okay, everybody line up. It's not happening.
Well, the city councilors definitely not, because they're not allowed by their own rules to do that. So one of the people that was answering some questions was the finance director. And he was explaining little bits and pieces like, does this apply to chocolate covered raisins or only to regular raisins?
Right.
That kind of stuff. They weren't answering any questions at all about what the heck do you think that we're doing? Well, the businesses are ready to go out of business, so we came up with this idea that will help them go out of business faster.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't give us any support. Well, let me see. So they were supposed to campaign for your sales tax, which was going to hurt them the worst.
What kind of support were you expecting from people who begged you not to do this? Well, we got no support. That's right. Now, what have you learned? Oh, nothing.
Yes. They haven't learned anything. That's the point. And listen, at that point, and last night we learned that these guys are just a bunch of drones. They don't write any of this stuff. They just rubber stamp it. So the staff, somebody on the staff is generating this stuff, and they say, well, what do you guys think of the idea of a sales tax? And they go, okay. And then they write it however they want to, and it never gets checked by the councilman ever again.
Well, let me give you a comedy example, because we're approaching the end of our show, but I've had so much fun with this, Mike. One of the things that happened at the last city council meeting, they had a long blathery explanation. Oh, pardon me, just a second. It chokes me up.
Speaking of blathery explanations, for crying out loud.
Okay, they had this long explanation about this memorandum of understanding, MOU, that they were developing, that they're going to be doing with an intergovernmental agreement with the Grants Pass Irrigation District, snore, okay? But what they're doing is the staff has come up with a suggestion of this memorandum of understanding, an intergovernment agreement between the Grants Pass Irrigation District, which is its own government, they have passports and everything, I suppose, and with the city council, right? And so toward the end of it, they said, so here's what your suggestions are. You can do nothing, which the staff always doesn't want them to do. You can do the wrong thing, or you can do the right thing that this staff has suggested. Which do you choose? And one of the city councilors said, when they sign this, the Grants Pass Irrigation District isn't going to sign it. What? No. What? Oh, yeah, they've made it clear they're not interested in signing this deal at all. What? Well, then why are we approving a memorandum of understanding and an intergovernmental agreement with an outfit that's already said they're absolutely not going to sign it?
Right.
Well, are you ready for this? Because it shows support for the staff.
Wow. You know what? And that is very, very telling right there. It ought to enlighten you as to the culture down there and what's really going on. These people that you see on these elevated chairs in the nice little meeting room there, they all look like they're they're much more important than we are because they're sitting higher than we are. But these guys are stooges. They're being spoon-fed stuff, and they said, "Well, how should I vote on this? Do you think?" Well, I think you got to approve that. Oh, okay. That's who these people are, for crying out loud. Not one thinking person in the bunch.
And they're going to now cut themselves off by trying to stop people from saying any criticism about that as we go into election season. That's Darren Fowler. They're going to cut people off by saying, oh, I'm done talking. I'm not even going to answer any questions about this anymore. That's Dan DeYoung. And you got Roy Lindsay, who's just going to make up a story about it all. Brother, it's time to say, and did you catch who was on this show? Roy Lindsay was there because he's a diet, but two of the candidates are Dan DeYoung and Ken Hannum. Of course they want to be on KJO with Marty leading the way, talking about just as much Marty as it is them, explaining how, well, yeah, there sure are bomb throwers out there. Yeah, they certainly are throwing bombs. That's who you are to these guys. You're just bomb throwers.
Well, and it's very, very clear from the content of this talk show that when you're on that show with Marty, you're on with the advocate for the local establishment here. That's what his role is.
He agreed with them that they should not take any more questions about this. You just heard him. I agree. Don't take any more questions about that. Now, what do we have at the Courier? A little ray of light. Okay, because we've got a couple of reporters that are sometimes, and I talk to them too, and I say, look, here's a lead, go look for it yourself, right? What do we have at the IV News? We got Dan Mancuso, who says, well, I think really a property tax is the only way to go. Really? You're going to need to find two people who are willing to talk to each other, that take a stand, that agrees with you, and if you're for property tax, God bless you, you've got 30 people to choose from which to choose. And if you don't, then you need to find two people who have the willingness to move ahead with this kind of stuff. But at least what Mike and I can do for our part is we could try to bring you. Have you seen any of this stuff in the Courier or on KJO? No, but these guys are on KJO and they have no sense of irony. Listen to what they're saying about you. We're happy to replay it and talk about it. We're trying to perform a public service, and it's worth every penny that you pay for it.